Ichigo awakens by Talach, Chapter 17, Confrontations. Confrontations with Yururichi. The black-haired feline made her way from rooftop to rooftop, keeping a watchful eye and sense on her young charges. Ichigo swiftly dealt with two seated officers of the 11th, filled the exiled noble with a sense of pride at his skill, and Sato caused an explosive ruckus before practically disappearing from the eyes of the Shinigami. Odhime made her laugh at her sudden reactions to the attempted sneak attack that left her opponent an unconscious heap. Tatsuki seemed a little overconfident with a desire to meet her little bee, but if she beats the crap beats the crap out of that other guy that was the current lieutenant, she should get a meeting with Soifon. Ganju was attracting attention like fat and weak buffalo to a pride of hungry lions, seeing as how he was being chased by almost half of Squad 11. I understand your enthusiasm, little fireball, Nururichi thought to herself as she continued to watch them, but you don't become a Black Ops head by becoming careless. And she then saw Ichigo catch up to Ganju and promptly crush the nameless Soul Reaper in a second. I just hope Kukaku won't be too harsh on that elite. Ichigo is getting is setting a rather high mark. She swept down, she sweet dropped. It was then she noticed something interesting. Mayuri Kurotsuchi and Kenpachi Saraki were both heading towards the same place. Now what are you two doing? And she questioned before following them. With Ichigo, Ganju. Ichigo started feeling a slight headache, looking down on his cousin from the pile of Shinigami he sat on. I left you alone for maybe 5 minutes. What the hell happened? He roared, gesturing to the ground that was previously chasing the Shiba man, all of whom were beaten and unconscious. Well, Ganju scratched the back of his head nervously. I was running, but these guys just showed up out of. Why the hell were you just running around? Don't you even know what stealth means? As the two Shivas argued over logical sense and meaninglessness, they were unaware of the small, weak-looking combat medic that accidentally stumbled upon the location. Until Shinigami tripped and screamed. This caught their attention as they went over to the poor kid. What a pathetic-looking Soul Reaper, Ganju said, looking down on the guy with his chin length brunette hair, small frame, and a medical bag on his back. Almost makes you feel sorry, Ichigo remarked before helping the guy up. Hey, what's your name? Hanatoro Yamada, he said, unused to such kindness from strangers. A member of Squad 4. He then screamed at the realization that he was in front of the enemies, and one of them fought a captain on uneven ground. He was about to turn and run before Ichigo grabbed him by the shoulder. Do you mind giving us direction to where Rukia is being held? Ichigo asked the trembling medic in his kind older brother tone, which immediately helped the Hanataro calm down enough to make rational decisions again. Sure, aren't you Ichigo Kurosaki? Ichigo nodded in response, getting Hanataro to breathe out. Rukia told me so much about you. Come on, I'll show you the way. He cheered out and running off, knowing that the two could catch up to him. He was always assigned janitorial duties by other Soul Reapers, but he never mentioned it. During the 2 weeks of Rukia's detainment in Squad 6 barracks, he met the petite beauty and talked with her. She told him about the man known as Ichigo, and he developed an idealized image of him as a hero and hopefully as a friend. He was eager to make a good first impression by helping him out. The cousins shrugged at each other, having no other leads but to follow. Ichigo decided to keep with them until someone else showed up that could escort the two. They seemed less than capable of their own protection. Squad 4 Hospital. Yoruichi watched, finding amusement in Kurotsuchi's anger at the silent third seat of the 11th Squad. She understood now why Urahara teased him as much as he did. It was hilarious. You expect me to believe that even though you fought him, you have absolutely nothing important to tell me? The psychotic clown crowd, feeling his intelligence being insulted, that he would believe such a lie, or his ego for being denied anything useful on a possible research specimen. Nothing to tell, Ikaku simply said. I know not his end goals or anything about him or his allies. He defeated me with superior speed, strength, and skill. Nothing you understand. Insolent little, Kurotsuchi growled, raising his hand to punish Ikaku for his insults. Yudorichi nearly jumped in until the mad scientist's wrist was caught in a crushing grip by Saraki. I don't believe you are entitled to punish members of our other squads, Mayuri, he calmly threatened, making the Squad 12 captain reevaluate his options. Fine, he conceded, pulling his hand free from the berserker. You finish this interrogation. I have other matters to attend to. With the psycho out of the room, Yurichi relaxed and continued her observation. So you managed to fight Ichigo, and you end up beaten and bloodied, Saraki stated before adapting an excited smirk. Is he strong? Very, Ikako responded. He almost reminded me of when we first met, Captain. When I warned him about you, he merely said that he said to meet him at the first division barracks. He keeps it down, but he craves a challenge all the same. He turned to the scarred man. I don't know if you can beat him. Fine with me, Saraki said, keeping that bloodlust and thrill. It's been too long since my blood boiled like this. He turned and left his third in command to his recovery. His pink-haired lieutenant soon joined him. So, where to now, Kenny? Yachiro asked, feeling the scarred man's excitement affecting her as well. Are we going to find Ichigo? Ichigo will come to us, he said, already running to squad's first barracks. And then I have a grand fight, he yelled before laughing manically. Lieutenants meeting. Renji and most of his fellow lieutenants listened as the latest reports was developed. Almost all of Squad 11 was out of commission, with several other seated officers being taken out with relative ease. There's actually some validity to Captain Ichimatsu's actions, thought Renji. This is embarrassing for the Gotai 13. Just how much stronger are you, Ichigo? Continued sightings of one of the ryokai heading for the second division barracks. The man delivered the report announced. They think they can challenge me. A large, balding, heavy-set man with a purple collar snorted. How embarrassing for me. The great Marichio Omeyata. He boasted unashamedly, causing everyone else to groan. What? Finishing out the report, sightings of Ichigo confirms that he's making his way to Repentance Cell with one other and Squad 4 member Hanataro Yamada acting as their guide. Best case scenario, he continued with his report while Renshi had heard what he wanted and made his way to intercept Ichigo. With Ichigo, they followed Hanataro through the sewer system that led to the closest they could get to the repentant cell. Ichigo looked up to the enormous white tower, the priest holding his friend, and the execution she would go to if he couldn't stop this conspiracy plot. He then felt the familiar presence from earlier that month, one of the men that took Ruki away. It's been a while, Renji Abara, Ichigo said, casually unconcerned with the lieutenant who was walking towards him and his group. Yes, it has, Ichigo Kurosaki, the tattooed man said, following his captain's advice of not underestimating the ryoka this time. Now, let me tell you now, this won't end like last time, he growled. Glaring at the man that humiliated him. A look Ichigo returned. Yeah, it won't, he agreed before walking off towards where Ikaku said that the first division was located. Escort Ganju to Rukia, let him have his talk with her, and he'll turn himself in. I have a meeting with the head captain, and I'm late enough as it is. Hanataro and Ganju could only look on in surprise. A lieutenant class Soul Reaper, and Ichigo was acting as if he was no threat. Ranger's own surprise quickly shifted to more anger. Are you running away? He yelled at the hybrid. Do you think I'm weaker than you? Let me tell you now, Ichigo. Captains and lieutenants are required to have their Raiatsu limited when they go to the world of the living, Ichigo stated at the same time, silencing Renji again. In Soul Society, that restraint doesn't exist, and they are 5 times stronger than others. I know, Renji. He turned to look Renji dead in the eyes, but I'm not going to bother fighting someone with such a weak resolve. He prepared to continue on his way. Don't you dare! Renji began before a beam of pale light shot just an inch from his neck. Renji stood in shock, feeling his skin burn and blister from the heat of a nameless Byakaru that demonstrated a clear message. I've gotten much stronger, and I'm resolved in my actions. a point made with the amount of destruction that single beam caused. I could feel the conflict in your soul from the day we met, Ichigo told him, lowering his mocking hand. You never wanted to do anything to harm Rukia. I don't know your past together, but until you end that conflict, you will never be able to beat me, he said, before continuing on his way. Renji dropped to his knees, beaten yet again, and treated like a pathetic rookie for the first time in a while. He was deaf and blind to the world, unaware of Hanataro applying first aid to his burns, as Ichigo's words echoed in his memories of the past 2 weeks. He realized he wanted to help Rukia, believed that beating Ichigo could influence that in any way. He wanted to defeat his captain, the man that took her away and made them drift apart. But most of all, he wanted to redeem himself for being a terrible friend. He did nothing to stop them from losing their connection, didn't even object in the slightest to her arrest, and blamed someone else when he was mad with himself. He made his plans and did as Ichigo told him, finding a place to rest for the remainder of the night before meeting with Rukia. Ichigo! He yelled out before the hybrid disappeared from sight. Please! Save Rukia! Ichigo said nothing before vanishing in a burst of speed. With Tatsuki around the same time. Finally, the martial artist thought to herself, reaching the headquarters of the second squad of the Shinigami. Now Yudorichi always described her as petite, with black hair, and since she's the current captain, she should be wearing a hiyori with a 2 on it. Or maybe I can force her out of hiding by beating the crap out of the idiots that have been following me, she yelled out, and letting the ninjas of the on Mitsukido, the covert police of society. No, she knew they were following her. Little by little, they began to reveal themselves, with Marichiyo standing tall and proud. You must be incredibly foolish to come here all alone, little girl. Amiyato yelled out. He remembered the report from earlier. Wartime measures were being taken. The forces of the Serite could no longer allow these human brats to keep showing them up. He had to prove the effectiveness of his squad and make his captain proud. Lieutenant Marichiyo Amiyato will show you your, he tried to say before Tatsuki slammed her knees into his face, resulting in a loud crunch that came from her broken nose. She then kicked him in the stomach, using that momentum to flip over him and throw him into the hard tile stones of the roof of the building they were on. She then locked his arms in place and swiftly dislocated them, finishing with a swift punch to his temple and knocked him out. Time! She yelled out to no one in particular. 2.5 seconds, someone muttered out, surprised by the ferocity and efficiency she displayed. Damn! Too slow, Tatsuki cursed. But whatever. You lot think this'll piss off your captain enough to come out? She asked, standing on top of the unconscious heap that was the lieutenant. If anything, you did me a favor. She turned and came face to face with the petite, black-haired captain of Squad 2. I'm sorry, Fawn, captain of Squad 2. Surrender peacefully, Ryoka, she commanded in a no-nonsense way. Tatsuki met that with a determined grin. Oh, I know who you are already, Tatsuki said, jumping off the oath. Oh, named Tatsuki Arisawa, and I'm here for one thing. She immediately bowed before the captain while clasping her hands. Please spar with me. For the first time in a long time, Soifon was caught off guard and stared at the human in shock. Huh? She so eloquently asked, trying to make some sense of the situation before her. Out of all the Ryoka, only 2 are permitted to fight captains, Tatsuki explained. I'm not one of them, but I really want to fight you. It's been forever since I had a chance to really test my skills. If you let me spar with you, I'll surrender immediately after. Soifon racked her brain trying to figure this out. She's used to surprise attacks at night, poisons in her food and drinks, all-out ambushes, everything except for a sincere, upfront sparring match request from an enemy. This was a new one for her. Well, she said, some logical part of her brain still trying to catch up. You did assault and embarrass my lieutenant in front of the entire squad. Oh, please, that guy is seriously your lieutenant? Tatsuki chuckled, getting up out of her bow. That bloated, flashy idiot is the honest to God lieutenant of the squad of the 2nd Division. Did he buy his way up the ladder? Because no one's standards are that low. As much as I'd like to agree with you, he actually did earn his station. Now it was Tatsuki's turn to be completely shocked. Yeah, his method is to act like a boastful, egotistical idiot that only got his position through money to drop his opponent's guard. There was a pause between the 2 martial artists. Soifon's expression went back to normal while Tatsuki was still bug-eyed. It's a legitimate strategy, but not one I approve of. It gets real annoying. I'm sorry, Captain. Omayada managed to groan out, having finally come to. Shut up, idiot! Only to be silenced again by the girl kicking him like a soccer ball shot out of a cannon. They shared a glance before giggling. I like you, Arisawa, Zoifan told her. You've earned that sparring match, she said before dropping to the ground and removing her hurry, revealing her sleeveless and backless uniform. But when I've had enough, I will end it, she said with a smirk. Fine with me, Tassie called out with a grin, dropping down to join her. I'll even tell you a secret. I'll even tell you a secret. I beat your dying to know. With Ichigo, he made his way towards the old man, risking a slight headache with a single Bisquita pulse to get a general direction and location. He found his target and charged towards who he expected was Yamamoto with determination. Refusing any more detours, setting for only necessary delays instead, he expected Saraki to be waiting for him, which could help his decision with the commander to go much smoother if he was in no real condition to fight. That was the current plan anyway. Go to the 1st Division barracks, fight Zaraki, talk to Yamamoto, and expose Aizen somehow. It was supposed to be simple, but there was always a chance for a plan to hit a roadblock. He felt that roadblock and knew that this couldn't be avoided. So he dropped down and came face to face with his opponent. Hello, Ichigo Kurosaki, said the man. I'm the captain of Squad 5, Sosuke Aizen. End of Chapter 7. Ichigo awakens back to Lodge in Chapter 18, Framed Crescent Moon. Framed Crescent Moon. Soifon versus Tatsuki. The sky in the realm of passed on souls was on fire with the light of the setting sun. The two martial artists stood a few feet apart from the other, waiting for the start of the fight. A brave soul among the patrol corps volunteered to referee the battle between the Hornet and the Fireball. Rules stood as well as rules stood as when one of them admits defeat or was rendered incapable of fighting. No blades, no Kido, just martial arts. The women just kept their confident smirks as they waited. Though Soifon remained calm and focused, while Tatsuki could barely contain her excitement, off to the side with the rest of the Onmitsu Kido, the appointed official raised his arm. Begin! He yelled, bringing his arm down swiftly. The two charged at each other, Tatsuki throwing the first punch, which Soifon caught and deflected. Managing to use that shift in balance, Tatsuki continued a furious assault of punches and kicks to her senior disciple of the Flash Goddess. Soifon kept her focus and seemingly danced around every attack, dodging or deflecting every blow with relative ease. Once she had a clear opening, she struck, slamming her palms against Tusky's midsection and sent her back several feet. First blood, she quipped, Tusky already steadying herself. Ready for more? I'd be disappointed if you gave up now. She just disappeared in a burst of Shunpo and slammed her foot into Soifon with similar result. Don't worry, I can take a hit, she returned as Soifon uncrossed her arms from blocking the near sudden attack. Keep this up, and I'll make you my new lieutenant, the captain returned, pleased with the promise to her challenger displayed. They again charged at each other and became locked in another exchange of blows, each one as unrelenting as the last to display their skills in barehanded combat. It went on like that until the petite captain caught Tatsuki's wrist and twisted around to put her in an arm lock, pinning her right arm helplessly against her back. Not to seem rude, Tatsuki groaned out in pain, but I'd rather not go against my boyfriend and join the enemy. We're still on opposite sides, remember? Maybe so, but it's only a matter of time till you're all captured, she said, putting more pressure on Tatsuki's arms and forcing the girl to her knees. You said it yourself. Only two of you are supposed to be strong enough to fight captains. Tatsuki regained her smirk as she felt her hands pressed against the small captain's stomach. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm a slouch either. Does that burn, by the way? She asked, igniting her reishi in her fist and summoning her fire. Soifon jumped back in surprise and released Tatsuki, who kicked her legs out from under her and tried to slam her burning fist into the Mitsukido commander's stomach. She was met only with stone as Soifon escaped at the last second. We agreed on no Kido, Soifon growled, analyzing the mysterious ability her opponent displayed as her other fist ignited. But that's not Kido, Is it? The two returned to their stances in preparation of the next assault. You're so much better than me, Tusky defended, not the least bit bothered by her flames. I needed an ace up my sleeve. She charged at the hornet, the fires in her hands roaring as they flew through the air to fire the target with every strike. So much heat in such a small flame. Swiftone thought as she dodged through the assault. The new ability Tusky displayed increased the effective range of her attacks, leaving small burns and singes on her as she tried to adapt to the sudden changes. And does she actually know? No, it's not that. It's not the same. A good imitation, though. I definitely need her in my squad. After she managed to recognize the pattern in Totsky's movements, she made her move once again, deflecting Totsky's punch and exposing her side. Predictable. Soifon smirked, ready in a disemboweled strike. She was unaware of Totsky's smirk, and she turned on her own and got Soifon with spinning hook kick with a little extra spice to it. My fists aren't the only ones that burn, she explained as Soifon slid to a halt on the ground, grasping her shoulder as the remnants of the spirit fire continued to burn her. She stood up as Tatsuki ignited her feet as well. That's my point, Captain, she said before charging again, putting Soifon on the defensive as she had to dodge the fiery strikes. Her shoulders still burned from the earlier attack, and it put her on guard. For as much danger as she was in and the duty she had to uphold, she found herself enjoying the match. It's not often that she gets a challenge that actually tests her in such a manner. She disappeared in a burst of speed to gain some distance and rethink a strategy. Skills of martial artist, an interesting ability, maybe some sort of work on her shupo. So Soifon evaluated Tatsuki in her head. You had to say hello to your new replacement. She finished before Tatsuki spotted her on a spire and threw a punch. Meteor strike! Tatsuki yelled, shooting off fireball at her opponent. Soifon barely managed to dodge the explosion when the ball connected to the building. Tatsuki winced from the accidental damage she caused. Sorry, still working on that, she apologized. Just something we'll have to work on when you join the stealth force, Soifon said, disapproving of the flashiness of the move. Should be easy to fix. Understood. Thanks, Senpai. Tatsuki let out carelessly, making Soifon stiffen. What did you call me? She said, shaken. She knew that Tatsuki didn't attend the academy, and her movements were so familiar. Now she understood why. I said Senpai. Tatsuki realized her mistake. Right. Since I said you'd still be mad at, she didn't even see it coming, barely felt it until she saw Soifon in front of her with her fist buried in her gut, right on the solar plexus. Tusky coughed out in pain as she was stripped and both her arms nearly torn out of her sockets, and Soifon dislocated them. The moment she landed face first, Soifon pinned her there with a near death grip on her neck. I'm done with this spar, Arisawa, the captain said coldly as her squad members came over to retrieve the defeated Ryoka. It was a good match, so I'll give you some advice. Leave her. She doesn't care about her students, she said bitterly, never forgiving the woman she once looked up to. She heard Toski gasp out with some laughter. I'll keep that in mind, she groaned out, ignoring the pain in her chest. By the way, still want to hear that secret? She called out to the back facing her. It has to do with the way she left you. Ichigo versus Aizen. I'm the captain of Squad 5. Sosuke Aizen, the man across the hybrid said. He spoke gently, mockingly, as he was sure Ichigo knew who he was and his intentions. The hybrid said nothing as the two stood across from one another. If you would be so kind. He unsheathed his blade as Ichigo instantly appeared before him and swung his blade. He effortlessly blocked the attack as the shockwave created a gust of wind. To let me finish, and you called Renji rude. The difference is that Byakuya was actually interested in what I had to say, Ichigo said, charging his energy for a familiar ability. There is nothing you have to say that I hear about. Getsuga Tensho, he roared, hitting Aizen point blank with a black and blue wave of energy. The blast left a giant gash in the ground and reduced several buildings to rubble. Ichigo scanned the cloud of dust for his opponent. I know what you're after, and you won't stop me from reaching Yamamoto. Do you mean to tell him about my goals with the Hyukyoku? Aizen said from behind Ichigo, as six beams of light impelled him. Do you really think he'll believe the words of Ryoka or the student of exiles over a captain that served its loyally for a century? He asked before blocking another strike as the trapped Ichigo disappeared. Actually, I was going to tell him about an actual threat, not some arrogant child pretending to play God. Aizen glared at the hybrid in front of him. Did I actually strike a nerve on the great Aizen? Ichigo asked before Aizen got behind him, got behind him, left a deep gash in his back. I thought you wanted to get to Yamamoto as soon as possible, he said to the boy as he staggered in pain. How do you expect to get to him if you spend all your time talking to me? Guess you're right, Ichigo said as he straightened up, already healed from the deep cut in his back. If we're going to keep exchanging banter till one of us dies, we'll be here till morning. Ichigo rolled and stretched his limbs in preparation. I'm not going to bother being subtle with this. Neither of us are going to go all out, and I doubt you'll benefit in killing me now. He faced his opponent and settled into his stance. Is this just to get an idea of my current power, or are you staging a show? Could be both, could be neither, Aizen returned, readying himself. You will never succeed, Kurosaki. Shatter and Kyoka. He never finished his release phrase before Ichigo attacked him furiously, forcing the captain on the defensive. The training from Urahara and Yuriichi showed as every blow was filled with an intent to kill, so subtle that the only way to confirm the intention of every strike was that each one was aimed for a vital area. Aizen easily met every strike, the danger actually making him focus on defense. Could he? No, that's impossible. No one knows. Aizen thought to himself as Ichigo continued his assault. Cannot let him use his illusion ability. Absolutely cannot. Ichigo told himself, knowing that anything less than lethal intent would do little to give the man pause. Ichigo was caught off guard as Aizen managed to disarm Ichigo of his blade as he twisted it out of his hands. Left with his bare fist, Ichigo increased his speed suddenly and struck Aizen in the chest with a palm attack. Aizen attempted to get some distance, but Ichigo stayed inside his guard, doing his best to disable or at least crush his throat. Just as Ichigo seemed to get the upper hand, Aizen made another deep slash through Ichigo's throat. Makoto 61, Riku Jokoro, Aizen recited, trapping the boy with the rods of light again. Foolish boy. All those years of preparation, all that training, all of it amounting to nothing, even with me holding back. What a disappointment you turned out to be. He closed his eyes in shame at the display of Ichigo's abilities, secretly hoping for him to prove him wrong. He opened his eyes to see Ichigo in front of him with his arm glowing in concentrated reishi. Getsuga! Ichigo yelled, striking Aizen in the chest with a fist and a blast of reishi, sending him back several feet. Not lighting up, he aimed his palm at the man again with a ball of crackling energy ready. Hado 63! Raiko Hoho! He fired the blast of energy at the man as he ended up buried in rubble. Like I said, Ichigo growled as he summoned his sword back to him. You will not stop me, Aizen. He released the first form of his blade and raised it up for the next attack. Getsuga Tensho! He roared, sending a wave of his destructive power at the man, destroying everything in its path. He grunted, feeling himself lose into his bloodlust. No, gotta stay focused. Can't reveal any more hollow or clumsy abilities, he yelled to himself, trying to suppress his inner beast. Not bad, he heard from behind as Aizen sunk his blade into his body. But you are still weak. Huddle 11, Tsuzura Raiden, he said, sending millions of bolts of spiritual electricity through Ichigo's body. The hybrid could only drop to his knees, hopelessly as his muscles clenched and he's fried from the inside. I was hoping that you would be an ultimate being, capable of standing at my side in the end, but you have proven weak, feeble. Maybe next time I try, I will use one of your sisters to bring my creation. Aizen mused, purposely goading the hybrid. The worst part was that Ichigo knew what was his goal, but he didn't care. Don't you dare! Ichigo roared, forcing himself up and uppercutting Aizen with all his strength. Ichigo's veins were glowing and bulging out with his eyes shifting colors and his Reitsu flaring about his body. He rocketed towards Aizen, creating three separate speed clones that each attacked the captain. The man flew higher until he felt a bind around his body. He found a rope of light binding him as Ichigo ripped him towards the ground. As they neared, Ichigo grabbed hold of him and used the momentum to spin them around and throw the manipulator into the ground at a greater velocity. As soon as Aizen collided with the ground, Ichigo aimed his palm again for another Keto spell. Ye Lord Mask of blood and flesh, all creation flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man, inferno and pandemonium, the sea barrier surges, march on to the south, Hado 31, Shakaho, Ichigo chanted, creating a massive fireball, a fine display of power, but not enough. Aizen thought before shielding himself with a danku, holding off the majority of Ichigo's fireball. After the blast ended, he saw over 100 more appearing everywhere above him and shooting down like rain. That's a new one, Aizen idly thought before the punishing bombardment slammed into his barrier, eventually breaking it. Ichigo landed on the ground, slammed into on the ground, almost 100 feet away. Shatter, Kyoka Suigetsu, he attempted before feeling himself get impaled and shot back into another building. This one collapsed on top of him, Ichigo's blade retracting to a normal length. In retrospect, Ichigo panted as he finally calmed down. This was a really bad idea. He looked down at his bloodied sword, now returned to its sealed state for that final attack, every bit as difficult as he thought it would be, but he felt something was off about this. Captain Aizen, he heard a woman scream. He turned and saw a petite, distraught girl looking at what Aizen last was before turning to glare at the hybrid. You murderer! Ah, crap, he whispered as he saw more lieutenants reveal themselves in the pale moonlight, all looking at him in shock. He tried to figure a way out while ignoring a sudden itch in his body. With Aizen, that boy is definitely something, he said, focusing his Keto into healing the wound in his body. He's able to mix and blend his abilities to frightening extents, generating reishi platforms as the focus for Keto, mixing Sonido and Shunpo, concentrating his reishi through his own body. Ichigo, you will be a fascinating being. He ceased the spell as he finally healed from his stab wound. Didn't expect him to mimic again the Shikai like that. Maybe I should have gotten to you first. No matter. He rose up and returned to the building of Central 46. With this, you'll be the most wanted man in Soul Society, and your friends will be executed, he said, looking down at his sanpakto, an elegant blade. Despite missing 2 inches of the tip, that part of the blade was still embedded inside Ichigo, breaking off when he turned to attack him in the final assault. This will not protect you, Ichigo. The other captains will kill you for me. With Kenpachi and Yamamoto. Wow, Kenny, Ichi must be really strong, Yachiro exclaimed from her captain's shoulder. The scarred man could only grin in anticipation. Yeah, that definitely looks like a worthwhile fight, the Kenpachi said in his ever-graceful voice. Do you not care that he killed Captain Aizen? The old commander by his side asked. When Zaraki heard of where he could expect to meet his chosen opponent, he made his way into Yamamoto's barracks and settled down, waiting patiently for Ichigo to arrive. The old man allowed it, as he figured the simplistic nature of the bloodthirsty fighter might inspire some revelation to some of his questions. I couldn't give a damn who dies. That just means they were weak, he said completely without care, though it does surprise me. Aizen said that he wanted to help save the Kuchiki girl, and he was going to do everything to help do that. You think Ichigo would take up on that offer? Indeed, Yamamoto mused. Ichigo Kurosaki, when you and your friends were attacked with the intent of capture, you defeated them without killing them. Aizen finds you and tries to help you. You kill him in cold blood. What is happening? He questioned as he enjoyed the rest of his tea. End of chapter 18.